Before we paint, let's set up like real painters. Let's meet all the things that we're gonna need. So here's a circular palette, and it's gonna hold our paint, one color per well so that they stay clean and separate. So the red is gonna go where the red is on the color wheel. The yellow, go at the top where the yellow is. The blue will come over here where the blue is. This is where we are going to mix the colors, and we're gonna mix the colors using a palette knife. So we're gonna scoop a little bit of paint from the well, but let's get some paints into these wells first. So we're gonna start with some red, some yellow, and blue. To get your paint in the palette, you're gonna lift back the cap. Well, first shake so that's down towards the lid. Open. Get your paint super close to that well. Squeeze just a little bit out and lift. You want to try and keep the mouth of your paint clean. So shake, open. Oh no! What do we do if this happens? If this happens, you're going to take your palette knife and you're going to try and scoop that paint out. We can also open the top to give it a little pressure release. And put the paint back in the tube. We can use our paintbrush also. Now if we're using our paintbrush, we just want to make sure that that paint stays below the ferrule. That's the metal piece, which we'll talk about more here in a little bit. All right, so this is still pretty messy. First, we're going to clean the brush. That's most important. Have some water here. I can dry it on my little sponge. And then you can clean this. You can just dunk it in the water, the dirty water cup. You can use your little sponge to clean it. All right, well, it's not perfect and I'm getting paint everywhere. That's what's gonna happen. We just don't want it to be thick and clogged. Now, if we leave the paint in our sponge like this, that's also gonna turn to plastic. So we need to stick the sponge in the water, squeeze. Now it's probably going to stain the sponge, but that's okay. And we can clean our palette knife. We're going to make a mess. We just need to know what to do when it happens. You have paint on the table. This is one of the magic parts of painting. You get paint on one thing and all of a sudden it's everywhere. What started as a little mess is all of a sudden a big mess. Okay, that sponge can go here. We have our 3 colors. Now we're gonna take our paint palette and we're gonna scoop a little bit from a well, put it onto our palette, scrape off as much paint as we can from that knife. Trying to keep the paint on the back side versus the front. See, I really couldn't get the paint off the front. Get our next color, scoop from the back, so not the front, the back side. I did a much better job that time. And we're gonna put the paint next to the color, and then you're gonna fold those colors together. Now, the goal is to keep them in a small little puddle close together. If you spread them out, then they're gonna dry out faster. But if this happens, what you're gonna do is you're just gonna scrape them back together again. And we're just gonna practice using this palette knife to get good with it. So trying to get that color back over, wrangle it back in. Scraping it off because you want to have a little puddle of paint. Yes, it takes practice. But it's fun. All right, once we have a puddle, we're happy with it, we can clean our palette knife off, and this is how we're going to be mixing our colors. So let's talk about the brush. See this metal part on the brush? This is the ferrule. Paint should never go past the ferrule. We want to keep the paint probably here, so about that far up on the brush is about as far as you ever want to go. Because paint that dries in the ferrule is going to splay your bristles and it's going to ruin the brush for good. So we're going to dip, load our brush, kind of scooping the paint up. And that's about as far as we're going to go. Now, we're just going to play with the paint today. Practice once we have paint here, remembering to clean. Scrape off the side, dry. Every now and then you need to rinse your sponge off in the water so that this doesn't dry real quick and turn to plastic. Another good way is just to kind of keep that sponge wet. We have the well in the middle here, so we can keep the sponge wet and it's not going to get all over our stuff. If paint gets on the table, that's what this green part of the sponge is for. You're just going to scrub, 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 scrub in little circles. This is going to keep the tables clean for our next artist. All right, so let's recap. We have paint with wells. We have a flat palette for mixing. We have a knife, a palette knife for mixing. We have a scrubby brush for cleanup. And now we are ready to paint like a pro. All right, let's do this.